Welcome to the Lost Lowdown podcast 194 with your hosts Claude and Justin.
What's up, guys?
Hey, we're back, continuing our season 6 commentary series with episode 16, The Package.
Ooh, the package.
Ding dong! There's a
I have
package.
a
There's a
package.
package at the door. Guess who it is?
Be sure you wipe it down.
Oh no, it's a Corona package. Oh, yikes.
Things I wasn't thinking in 2010.
Yeah, right. I'll take that for 1,000, Alex. Yeah, so this is what is this, a Sun and Jin episode?
Yep.
Now this is the one where they die?
No.
Okay, so that's later.
No, that's later.
Okay.
Yeah. Because there's a whole thing, okay, I'll tell you the story of Sun and Jin this season. Where's my husband? Where's my wife? Where's my husband? Where's my wife?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't talk anymore. Oh my God, look, it's my husband. I can talk again. Oh shit, we're dead. Like, that was pretty much it.
That was it. Wow. Spoiler alert. That was it. That was the whole thing. That sounds like a commentary.
Like the big reunion is going to happen later. They're still separated. I think the only way they're together in this episode is the flash sideways.
That sounds like a commentary on marriage. Like you're trying to find each other, understand each other, and then as soon as you do, you die.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
There it is. Yeah, I don't remember much about this episode at all.
Yeah, I remember a few details about it.
Can't think of anything. There's nothing that happens that I remember.
So one thing I remember that we've talked about a couple times is this is the one and only time that they mention Jin's time in Dharma and finding these pockets of electromagnetic energy or something along those lines. Widmore wants Jin to take him there, So it's such a tease because it goes literally nowhere. But I do remember that was the thing. And I also remember that this is the episode where Widmore makes some pretty bold proclamations about what's going to happen if the Man in Black leaves the island. So, because I think we haven't. So let's see. I'm trying to think of what we've really had so far. I think so far all we've had is, Jacob like insinuating that it's evil, but not quite coming out and saying it, and really just saying like, "I won't let you leave." Period.
Yeah.
And then we had, Ghost Isabella in the last episode, Abaturno saying, if he leaves, we all go to hell, whatever that means, for a ghost.
Thanks, Isabella. You're the worst.
And then, yeah, she's like the ghost Lennon. Just ruined this for you. I'm already dead, so
yeah.
What do you got? You can do nothing. You can do nothing. Well,
that's the idea that we talk about a lot, right? That it's really just her basically saying it and like no one else ever on the show. But that idea of the ghost, if Man in Black leaves, there's this weird separation between like normal reality and the afterlife or something. And his leaving will break that, which would have been a cool idea to explore. Like, no, Man in Black, you can't leave because like now that you're a smoke monster, you have the connection to the afterlife that is needed for everyone on the planet to or maybe everyone on the island or whatever to like move on. And so you don't get to do that. You don't get to rob people of their afterlife, which would have been an interesting way for a sort of horror style villain to operate, right? Like it's like a reverse Freddy Krueger or something where they don't take your life, they take your afterlife, or something, and now you're stuck on the island forever, which is where he wants you or something,
right.
But they have that in that line with Isabella, but they don't like follow that through at all.
It isn't developed at all. Yeah, exactly. And then so then I think the next line is Widmore is gonna say whatever he said. I think he says like, we'll find out. But I know he makes like a pretty bold statement about what's going to happen that then like is really called into question when he actually confronts the Man in Black and he's like, tell me where the pack. Sorry, spoiler alert. The package is Desmond.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the big reveal at the end. That's another thing I remember. Um, tell me where Desmond is, and he's like, I'll never tell you anything, and he's like, uh, uh, if you don't tell me, I'll kill your daughter. He's like, well, okay then. And it's like, what? After all that, you're just like one threat, and you're like, you cave? Like, come on, what the fuck?
Yeah, I remember that being really anticlimactic when they meet
It's
in
so
front of the
stupid.
fence.
Like, if you really think and I think he literally says something to Jin in this episode about, he talks about Ji Yeon, and he's like, your daughter, my daughter, everyone's daughter will die if
all
he
the
leaves.
daughters.
I think he says something like that. Where it's like, like, well, if you take it that seriously, then who gives a shit if he's like, I'm gonna kill your daughter? Like, you're gonna kill everybody, right? Or everyone's gonna die passively, or who knows? But if it's, or was he bullshitting? Like, I don't know. It doesn't work either way. It's like,
well, one of the things that's missing from Widmore is what his origin story is, like how he got to the island and what he really thought of Jacob and all that stuff. Because I think when it comes back to it at the end here, we really don't know how to square that circle. Like he just seems to be taking whatever Jacob told him as true. But, for someone who left the island, well, he was ousted, but he also like wasn't 100% committed. So he was ousted.
He was leaving. That was part of the problem.
Yeah, and so it seems like he had already lost his faith in what everything was about. And so, and it's weird, this idea that like, oh, he was like not a capitalist before he left the island, and then he discovered some interesting economic philosophy. And he's like, great, I'll apply this to the island. I'll strip mine, whatever. It's such a weird idea. It's not really, doesn't really work, but.
I read this great book, Benjamin. It's called Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas, you see, is the Greek god who had the world on his shoulders. Yeah. Have you heard of Anne Ryan? Yikes. Yeah, exactly. Here on the island, Benjamin, things trickle up, but in the real world, things trickle down. God. Oh, Widmore's the worst. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So yeah, all of the stuff you're saying about him and this whole climax episode, like, and bringing Desmond back and trying to be invested in all that, but still trying to exploit the island, maybe. It's unclear. Like, why does he want to find the pockets of energy? Like, why couldn't Jacob just told him where they were or whatever? Like, it's such a weird. Yeah, it's just it's you just don't know who you're supposed to trust, who's right, who's on
but
the
they
same
didn't even
side.
play that up enough. Like, I agree, but like I think that idea could have worked if they had like emphasized it a bit more. Like, ooh, can we really, I mean, maybe they have a throwaway line or something, but like I just never, you can't trust the man in black. Like that's like automatically true, and it's like, because we've seen him lying over and over again. So it's like, obviously he's not trustworthy. Widmore, like, why should Widmore be trustworthy? I think the only reason why he should be trustworthy is that he's opposed to the man in black, who's like obviously the villain. And of course, like, you could have a show where, you have someone opposed to the villain, but who isn't themselves like a good person or trustworthy. That happens. I've seen that on TV before. But I think when you do that, you have to actually like follow through on it, and they don't really do that either. It's like, it seems like Widmore is just like, it's weird. Like, he came all this way, but then it kind of seems like he's not that committed, and so it's just like, I don't know. It's such a waste.
Yeah,
like, he doesn't really accomplish anything.
Well, I also think like Widmore's the kind of character Man in Black could totally talk him into doing something and going against Jacob. Like, if Widmore was at the temple in Sundown, he would have totally bought into Man in Black. He'd be like, cool, yeah, I don't care about Jacob. Like, yeah, fine. Like that, and that's kind of my point of like we don't really have a good anchor for his backstory, so we don't know why he ever believed in Jacob or what he got out of it or what his relationship is with them, and it's a little obnoxious for him to come back to the island and be like, yeah, Jacob told me, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if I actually believe that, but he did say you were coming, but I'm still confused onto why he would bring you. And then also not tell you anything what to do.
I know. Much like, ask where Cart is. He'll know what to do next. Like, it's
yeah. Is that a thing? Is he just consistently is the whole point like they'll have to figure it out, and he's lying when he says they already know? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, maybe. It's I just with a lot of the stuff in this era of the show, it's like you can come up with a thing. And I remember feeling this way about Dexter too. I don't know, maybe it's an end of the show thing or something. Maybe they were just tired. I don't know, but like
they were
it's
tired.
like it's like you can and I'm not, I mean, I like Twin Peaks, I like I don't need them to like be super explicit about everything. Like that's fine. But I just think like if you want to sell like a certain idea, like you have to at least give something to demonstrate it. And I just don't think they did enough with um any of those ideas to really sell them as a point. You know, it's like something you could bring in from the outside and it kind of applies, but it doesn't really seem like the show cares about that. So that's just, I don't know. It's just, it feels more like being imposed or like, a way to try to like save it or do their work for them. You
Yeah.
know, but I'm looking for them to tell me what show they want to make. And you know, they just don't want to do that. I don't know. Like they're just very wishy-washy about everything this season. It's, from the temple and the claiming, it's Man in Black leaving the island, Jacob's plans, like everything is really like just a big squishy nothing.
The big
Like
squish.
it's so hard to like grasp anything. I feel like that's one of the biggest problems. I mean, that's why it's nice when like we finally get to the submarine and it's like, okay, like he got him on a submarine and he's gonna blow him up. Like it's like, okay, it's not like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but at least it's like a concrete thing happening that we can then like, you know, uh, uh, watch the characters go through and like, hope they survive and so on. And like the stakes are clear and it's like, there's like but it just feels like leading up to that, there's just so much like, I don't know, maybe it's this.
It seems like they wanted to do double duty with the sub, like have it blow up, so because they blow up everything they on the
They're done
show.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also like they were done with Sun and Jin,
Right.
and it's like, oh, let's have them die on that thing, but it and there's also this weird aquatic theme with Jin dying in the water, like with the freighter. Maybe
Yeah.
that's his weakness is water. But
Right.
yeah,
That's a weird one.
yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the stuff in season 6 is they just throw out ideas. They want you to just grab onto them at your leisure.
Yeah.
And run with them maybe, but it's not clear what their point is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because they don't like fixate. I mean, except for this, the flash sideways and the stuff about like what happens when you die and so, I mean, I see that like that's there. I'll give them that.
Yeah, that's a big focus on.
Yeah, and I do think as disappointing as that part of the show is in certain ways, and obviously I generally I'm like really invested in the island stuff. Like I do think like they did a better job with the stuff that they clearly cared about more.
Fair enough. Yeah.
For the record. But I do think that yeah, Sun and Jin, like you're mentioning, like they were done with them. Like honestly, like I think they've been done with Sun and Jin for a couple
Mm-hmm.
of seasons now. And to be fair, it's not just Sun and Jin. I mean, Saeed's been
Yep.
MIA for a couple years now. Um,
R.I.P.
I think like Claire, obviously they didn't know what to do with, so they kind of kicked her off the show for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even Sawyer, we were talking about in Recon how like the new thing that Sawyer had was really the relationship with Juliet,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then she died. So like grief, like that's kind of all they got. I think they're even struggling with him, and I think another problem they had is that like his central like original conflict had been resolved, and so like it
Yeah.
didn't leave them with any material for the Flash Sideways. Like they had to just like go back to square one and
Mm-hmm.
just reiterate stuff that we already knew. I don't know, that was such a waste. And I kind of feel like they're in the same position with Sun and Jin, except Sun and Jin didn't really get a second act. I mean, Sun got some cool moments off Island,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately they didn't really go anywhere, and it just came down to, they're going to
Yeah. I
reunite one last time before they die.
Now that you mention it, I think there's no character. All the characters on the island present storyline, none of them have anything to do.
Yeah,
Locke
it's
is
a
the
big
only one
problem.
who has anything to do, and even
Yeah,
he's whittling for a while. Kate, Jack,
yeah,
Sawyer,
yeah,
Sunjin, Saeed, all the characters are literally have nothing to do. None of them understand what the end game is yet, quite yet.
right.
Um, they don't have a way to do it. They weren't interested in stopping him until recently. For the ones who even know about him,
Yeah,
uh,
Jack barely just found out in the last
yeah.
episode that it's
So
a thing.
that's a little tough. That's a little tough to deal with. And yeah, it's interesting. I think yeah, season 6 is way more about they're way more active in some part of their story. But yeah, on the island timeline, yeah, there's no one who's got a great story going on.
Yeah,
And who's really like understanding what's happening. And I almost feel like it should be Ben, but I guess in terms of someone who usually has an agenda and it usually is trying to undermine the person who's driving the storylines, yeah, even he's like Alfred the Count once he realizes what happens, with Man in Black and convincing him to kill Jacob and all that stuff, and
yeah,
he seems a bit defeated
yeah,
because you can almost see a different story where once Ben realizes he got tricked and that Man in Black is still it is a huge threat. He would go and come up with a plan. He would wrangle everybody else for his plan. It would almost be
yeah,
like what Locke did off island, trying to go to all the Losties and try to bring them back to the island. It would be
yeah,
like Ben doing that to them, but trying to get them to go up against Man in Black, and that could have been a whole storyline, of him trying to convince various people what they need to do and that he's a threat and all this stuff. But yeah, they play in such a weird way that they don't get a chance to really do any of that stuff. So yeah, we're left with a
yeah.
lot of characters just floating about.
Yeah, they're just put in this very passive position. I mean, in the case of Kate, like, she does have this like free floating mission of I'm gonna get Claire back, and I think that, is the big thing that they give her. Of course,
But
they
they don't have any.
reunited.
She doesn't have a plan. She has a goal,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no
and
plan. There's no
she
plan.
gets Claire. And then, first of all, Claire doesn't want to go. And then, second, when Claire's normal again, it's like, well, I don't actually have a way to get you off the island.
Yeah,
Now we're
yeah.
just
So
stuck here.
then she gets pulled into the passive mode that everyone else is in right now. Where it's just like we're just gonna sit around until something happens
Mm-hmm.
because we're not able to make anything happen. I do think it's amazing how many characters they have together and how few of them like try to do anything.
Yeah.
They all seem just very like Like, let's
Like,
just
oh
follow
well,
and
like,
wait around.
mm-hmm. I think they should have, amongst other things that I think they should have set up the Danger of Man in Black and the Dharma 70s time period.
Oh yeah, I agree completely.
And they go back in time. Maybe it's like they witness him attacking Dharma, right? They see the smoke monster, like either coming through the fence or trying to attack the fence. Like I think there should have just been something setting up what the smoke monster is in relationship to Dharma or Jacob, right? And then tying that to Man in Black later, so that when they get to the present, they understand who the villain is and they have a context. Oh, that
Right.
horrible thing that I heard about in the 70s or saw in the 70s, that's the thing that's trying to kill us now. Cool.
Yeah.
I want to stop that because I know what it is, and I know what it's capable
Yeah.
of. And I feel like they didn't set that up. They didn't use their time in the 70s as well as they could for those characters. Imagine like what Son, like if Son's like, oh, that guy who was Christian Shepherd that I saw, like, oh, that was really Locke. Oh, that was really the smoke monster. Like, yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in a different version of the show where they had maybe a clearer idea of where it was going or whatever, like I would expect there like it's just a general quality of the show that they don't talk about things very much, but I I I could imagine a version where they actually talk about the smoke monster. Like they almost never
Mm-hmm.
do. It's
Mm-hmm.
very rare that it ever even comes up, even though many of them see the smoke monster at some
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
along the way. They don't really talk about it. And even to me, what's even more surprising, none of them really ever seem to ask, like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that thing? Like, where did it come
Mm-hmm.
from? Like for example, in Dharma in the 70s, Kate's there eventually. Juliet's there too, actually. She's there the whole time, so that's even more pertinent. They saw um the smoke monster like run into the sonic fence and be,
Mm-hmm.
thwarted by it. And so like, if they
Yeah,
if
that's
they
got the thing
cared
about it.
to, they could have tried to figure like what does Dharma know about the smoke monster? How did they
Mm-hmm.
figure out that the sonic fence would stop it? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they don't know that much. I'm not thinking they have all the secrets of the Man in Black, but
Yeah.
like, on a normal version of the show where it's heading towards like the smoke
Well, that's
monster
what
as
they
the main
should have done.
villain.
Yeah. It should have
Yeah.
started with Dharma, and then when they do the temple related stuff later, then we should pick up the whole mythology of the smoke monster there, right? So whatever Dharma didn't know everything, but they knew a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then when these same characters get to the temple and they're like orphaned at the temple for a little while, like then they can see the hieroglyphs and they go, oh wow, this thing goes back to
Yeah.
centuries. The
Yeah.
ancient
Yeah.
Egyptians saw this thing. Like this is a a uh, a threat, this ancient threat or something, and now it's in the form of Locke and wants to get off the island. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just they just had no real information, and there was no drive on the show to really get them on board the way I feel like the audience is on board, and therefore like there's this the, we're out of the audience is out of sync with the characters when it comes to
Yeah.
Man in Black, and
Yeah.
it's not really fair, and it's not fun to watch them be completely unable to deal with him because they have no idea what they're really dealing with and what it really means. And that's something I just felt like, I don't know, they had, again, with Lost, most of the problems with Lost they had the building blocks for. They just didn't really assemble them in the way that they could have, that could have been more optimal. But yeah, they
Yeah.
had that time in the 70s. They had all the temple stuff, right? Imagine Dogen. Imagine all of Dogen's shit up to Jack about the evil and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Everything he says, right? Imagine everything he told Jack about good and evil and the tests and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And claiming, and then also he goes, yeah, it's the smoke monster,
Right.
and and here's an ancient hieroglyph carved into the wall that depicts it,
Yeah.
whatever. And now you get a bigger sense about what's happening here. And so when Jack, is like, oh, Locke is a smoke monster,
Yeah.
okay, that's the thing that just turned Saeed, that's the thing that turned Claire. Okay, like I get it now. Like it's this bigger threat. and they don't ever do that. It's just a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like he really should know that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, scenes with the others, like they should have discussed the smoke monster. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just weird how little it comes up considering, I know Widmore's gonna have this line later in the season where he says something like, Locke comes up, he's like on the other side of the Sonic fence, they're having a little showdown,
Mm-hmm.
and uh I think Locke says something like, "Do you know who I am?" And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Well, ghost stories and bumps in the night or something,
Mm-hmm.
like that's all I know." And it's like even that is not something they ever portrayed with the others.
Yeah.
They never showed them having a fear or any kind of superstition or
Mm-hmm.
anything about the smoke monster ever.
Well,
The
that would have been
only
cool.
goddamn thing we ever saw with the others and the smoke monster is when Ben wants to go get judged by the smoke monster, which is
Yeah.
like totally fucked up, doesn't make any sense. And it's like, and there wasn't any context for that either. That just came out of nowhere because he saw the Echo episode. I mean,
Yeah.
Echo's really the one who got the closest to
Mm-hmm.
understanding what the smoke monster was, but of course he died right after. So
Yeah,
like it does
and
make me like if Echo had lived, like maybe he would have been the character to investigate the smoke monster that I
mm-hmm.
wanted, and it just never
Well, that's what I was
happened.
gonna say is they could have done a thing where people thought the smoke monster was just superstition, and not a lot of people ever saw it. If you saw it, that means you're dead, like it killed you.
Right.
There's no survivors, right? They could have done a thing like that where oh yeah, it's an island legend that there's a smoke monster, but no one's seen it. There's all these mysteries around it, but no one's actually seen it. Blah blah blah.
Right.
And that could have been an interesting thing for like people like Widmore to face later, right? Where
Yeah.
he never maybe believed in it or something, and then now he's confronted with it, and now he has to do something different or whatever. But yeah, they don't really care to go down that road at all, to really make the smoke monster like a real fixture in terms of something people have to deal with
Yeah.
in a real way.
Yeah, it's like everyone acts all surprised, like, what? It's the smoke?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all you fuckers have seen this thing. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
why are you so shocked? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're just like going around living your life not worrying about the fact there's smoke monster on the island. Like that's partially
Mm-hmm.
on you.
Yeah.
Like why don't you care?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just that's weird. That's
And
very weird.
it should be a bigger deal when they find out it can take human form and stuff like that, and it's not like a mindless security system or something, right? Like
Right.
that. No one has a moment where they deal with that reality.
Yeah,
Um,
oh god. Oh right, I forgot about Rousseau's lines. Yeah, that
mm-hmm.
shit's weird. They don't talk about that at all. That's not
Yeah.
even no one's worried about that. I mean, the answer about that is so confusing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, Robert said it, but he was claimed, and so
Yeah.
maybe it was wrong, or was it right, but like not complete, or
You know
I
what I
don't
just
even.
realized that smoke that basically Man in Black is the first person the smoke monster impersonates. Like in a
Yeah, you could look at
way,
it that way.
yeah, in a way, it's like he died on the island, right? Jacob killed him,
Mm-hmm.
and the smoke monster read his mind and took his form. But it's sort of not really. We've talked about that before. This idea that he's not really the Man in Black. He's like a smoke monster who copied Man in Black's memories that gave him the sense of consciousness and
Yeah, and it's
identity.
like because that was the first one, like he
Mm-hmm.
identified with it in a
Yeah,
deeper way than he does with the other personas that he
yeah,
takes.
yeah, and that like if it was vice versa, right? Like if Man in Black had killed Jacob, then the smoke monster would have taken Jacob's form,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it would
Yeah.
think it's Jacob, but it's really. And I just wish that's such an interesting idea to me that I wish they would have spelled out more. That like again, like that's the reason he can't leave the island because he's not a person. who's attached to a smoke monster. He's just a smoke monster who can turn into other people.
Yeah.
And he feels like his default form is Man in Black.
Well, the problem is they have him keep saying, I used to be a man. I used to be just like you, blah, blah, blah. So I feel like they want us to believe that on the one hand, but
Yeah, he
on the
used to
other
be a man
hand,
before he died.
yeah.
Like, that's the answer. Yeah, before you died, sure, maybe.
But like
But
you could draw a hard line there if you wanted, but they're very blurry about it.
yeah, I feel like it's like a weird, like the smoke monster. Yeah, it just is misunderstanding what it is.
Like the line between the smoke monster and Locke, like there's
Mhm.
a pretty hard line there. But the line between the smoke monster and Jacob's brother is kind of blurry
Mhm.
because they structure the story of Across the Sea and the later stuff in such a way that it kind of flows naturally as though it's a continuation of the story of Jacob's brother.
Mhm.
Like it seems like it fits, like he inherits all of his opinions and desires and stuff.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's weird because now that I think about that scene with him dying and coming out of the light cave, and his body is there, and then like the smoke monster flies away. I mean, that's exactly what it seems like. It just seems like the smoke monster imprinted on his body in his last moments of life. But like, Man in Black is dead, and
Yeah.
and it'd be interesting if Jacob had said that ever. You're not my brother.
Right.
My brother died. I buried him next to my mom. Like, you
Yeah.
are something else, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been so interesting for them to make that distinction. Like, that's why you can't leave the island,
It
and,
would have
and it
gone a
just,
long way in that direction. Yeah.
yeah, and it's weird that Jacob never makes that distinction. And
Yeah.
he's just
It
like, yeah,
is.
well, you look like my brother, so you must be him.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
do
also
feel
you're
like.
evil. And that's that weird of conflating the two things of, well, now that you're a smoke monster and you're evil incarnate, it's just you can't leave for the same reason, or when we were kids and mother said you can't leave, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they do that weird two-step where they sort of skate over how those two things are connected.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's like, well, now you can't leave for this other reason,
Mm-hmm.
and also it's not totally you anymore.
And also, we're doing a long game about nature of humanity and are people good or bad.
Yeah, and that's continuing from the human form as
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's like, the smoke monster, of course, because he scans, it's almost like when the body went down there, it like released the smoke monster or something, like
Yeah.
somehow, like there are people who think that the smoke monster existed before that, but it is not shown before that. So I feel like it's plausible to think, people think like, oh, the camp, like the mother was the smoke monster because, like, how could she have killed everyone in the camp? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole thing. Like, you can believe whatever. They didn't show the smoke monster doing it, so, you know, who knows what happened there. But the way it plays out, it really looks like sending the body down there. Like, not only did it, um, give him a body to scan for like a form to take, but it seemed like it
Mm-hmm.
also like released it or something, let him out. It's like it knocked the cork loose or something, like
Yeah.
partially.
Mm-hmm.
Since there's like literally a cork down there. It's also weird. Like, has Jacob ever even been down there?
I feel like he hasn't, but somehow he knows what's down there, but he doesn't.
Yeah,
He hasn't.
it's weird. It's weird that he like seems to have some idea of what it is, but
Mm-hmm.
it like yeah, we don't see in the story that he ever actually went there.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, there's like hieroglyphics and shit down there, so there were like people there at some point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's a whole part of the story that it's fine, I guess, that we didn't get that, but
Yeah, I always thought it was the same of like Dharma, but it was the Egyptians. Like they went,
right,
they found interesting properties, they started digging, and then they basically dug the light cave, and they had a problem, and they needed to put a cork in it. you
right,
know, just like
yeah,
the
the Swan
Swan
Station
Station.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. You're right. You're right. That is clearly the parallel.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, all right. You want to get into this episode or complain about the story some more?
Hey, I mean,
or is there a difference?
I know, right? Not really. I mean, I'm sure I'll be complaining later, but yeah, we can watch it. Let's do it. Why not?
All right, let's do it. Okay, everyone, get your streamers ready to stream for some The Package.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Previously on Lost. You didn't declare. Well, I do declare. You're coming with me. That's like something Man in Black would say.
Oh, they cut out the "we all go to hell" part.
Mm-hmm. I need you to do some episode title. What brought you here? They're also even the people who know about Man in Black that he's a smoke monster, they're not actually interested in what that means, how he could be that.
Yeah, they don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, yeah, whatever they're doing, like that doesn't matter.
Imagine if there was a threat of like if he gets you, he'll turn you into a smoke monster too, mm-hmm. right? Imagine that being a motivating threat of something.
Yeah.
At least as an idea.
Yeah, it does seem like it should matter more.
Mm-hmm. The air is how my claiming gets into your system from an open wound.
Yeah. There's some weird thing about that. I really like wounds.
Mm-hmm.
He did tell you?
Wow.
You two talked about something?
Off screen?
Holy shit. In fact, we'll never know.
Yeah. It's probably Jin. I'm assuming it's maiden names.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You know.
Oh, right, back to the watch. Confiscate, oh boy.
The paperwork is a checkbox on a single piece of paper, but we're not going to tell you that. What do they call that when the cops steal your stuff? What's the name for that?
Confiscate?
No, there's
requisition.
It'll come to me. Like forfeiture or something.
Oh, okay.
There's some word for that. Mm-hmm. See, that's what would be on the cave wall if it was sun.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I actually read that the convention in Korea is that a woman doesn't take her husband's family name, but the kids do.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting. What happened? Oh, they need 2 different rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's part of the plot development of Flash Sideways.
Got it. You're number 2.
good.
It would have been cool if they had set up this whole idea of whatever Saeed's going through before on the show. Like if there was a name for this idea, right? You know, like what a ghost is, or or a zombie is a name for the concept. It'd be cool if that was a thing the mythology had set up, so that when Saeed is in this thing, we go, oh, maybe he's one of these things,
Right. Yeah.
You're back from the dead, but you're not necessarily evil, but you don't have feelings anymore because you're
Right.
back from the dead, right?
Whereas I feel like maybe he's just depressed.
Yeah, exactly. It's called clinical depression, and he needs some pharmaceutical drugs.
I ain't listening to anybody. Come on. Oh no. Not the temple.
Oh no.
Oh boy.
It's so funny when 1,000 people get like darts in the neck.
Yeah, now where is Locke right now?
He just left for his errand.
He went on an errand.
I guess they were waiting for him to leave.
Okay. Like that's the only reason they could pull this off, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. Otherwise, I guess he turned into a smoke monster and killed them.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so I guess we'll find out where he went. I don't really remember.
Something with the Hydra Island, maybe.
Isn't that where Widmore is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's gonna go talk to Widmore, basically.
Oh, right. That's weird though. Like I'm gonna go while Widmore's men come here.
Yep, he'll be easy to take if I need to kill him. Yikes.
Oh, come on.
She said
Miles. That was tired in season 1.
He just said peanut butter, though. That'd have been better.
Yeah.
Because he had a peanut butter thing.
Yeah, at least it would have been specific.
Mm-hmm.
Not just a like
yeah.
Hurley's fat thing.
Exactly.
Oh, right, the garden.
Mm-hmm. I forgot about this. So she's gonna lose her ring, right?
Oh no, not again.
Or did she already lose it?
Now.
Wait, when did she lose her ring gardening? Was that like
Season
a long time ago? Okay. I just knew it happened. I forgot when.
Yeah, it was like ... and found.
That was Jackson.
Yes. I don't care about that either.
What does it even mean? Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, this is like the thing I want them to do, but it really doesn't come off because Sun doesn't give a shit.
You would care if you let me finish this sentence.
It's a little more
so she's Jack season 1 or 2, and he's Locke.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't tell me what I can't garden.
It is weird to have a scene that like literally shows like the one of the big problems with the show. Like it's just, like the characters just don't care, and I get why they don't. And I'm not saying it even doesn't make sense. It's just
they don't do the thing that they do in like They Live, where they'll spend 20 minutes convincing another character that they're right.
Yeah.
Like the fights in They Live, right? Like they give up within like 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah. So wait, I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what we're supposed to think. Are we supposed to think this is? Oh, we're supposed to think this is them coming to LA because the plane landed normally.
Yeah, so I think if I remember right, uh they're they're not married or something.
Okay, because why aren't they married?
I think they're like secretly involved or something. So like Jin's working for her father. He's supposed to drop off this watch,
Are we supposed
and
to think this is before? I'm confused on what we're supposed to think is happening. Like, are we supposed to think this is a flashback? Or are we supposed to think this is an alternate reality because the island
it's the flash sideways. So yeah, I think it's supposed to be an alternate reality. The weird thing
from?
is like the differences go before the plane crash.
Yeah, that's why I'm more confused. Yeah.
Which is the Ben had that as well.
Uh-huh.
So there is some precedent for it.
Well, but with Ben, it makes
Oh, and
sense
Sawyer
because
too.
he was on the island as a kid. So if the
Right.
island was at the bottom of the ocean, then it would have
It
changed his
wasn't
life
possible.
before.
Yeah,
But this is a bit different. Yeah.
true. Oh, the
Oh
wound.
no!
This is the wound thing.
Oh, is it a wound thing?
Well, I don't know. It's just where she cuts her hand like right when he steps
Yeah,
out.
that's interesting. He does knock her out, doesn't he? How about you're a smoke monster?
I know. I know.
I think she's gonna die against her will. Yeah, see, the problem is he's really, believable, but like he's evil. You know what I mean? Like we know
Yeah.
he'll lie for anything. So, but Terry
Right.
McQuinn's such a good actor. You're like, oh yeah, just believe him.
Right.
So this is classic. I mean, this is
Well, we
infamous
know
here.
he's not actually lying in that case.
What do you mean he's not lying?
Well, Jin really was in his camp. I mean, he doesn't
Oh,
know
but I
that
mean,
just
he's
saying
lying
that.
about everything else, though.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
the other stuff, yeah.
Oh no,
Just that one part.
That's infamous.
Watch out for that tree. That
So
is
we'll talk
infamous.
about that forever. Yeah. I feel like we've just circled back to a moment on the Lost
That
Rundown.
is such a weird moment. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, this is infamous.
In the preamble.
So she's dreaming all this because she's knocked herself out. This is all a dream, son. I guess what's missing to me, maybe I don't know if they said it, is like, why aren't they together? Like, what's different about now between the real timeline when he actually married her? Who's at the door?
Uh-oh.
Put out the sign. My wig's on straight. Okay.
Yeah, maybe they will explain why they're not married. I definitely don't remember. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. I'm here to eat you. He's got that look on his face.
Definitely. Kimi's story here is very different from the Kimi that we met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's like some kind of weird gangster. Like that is
Yeah,
not
instead
the
of a
character
military
he
guy.
was. Oh no.
Oh no. Forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's the same in Korean as in English.
It's such a weird, like, yeah, exactly. It's such a weird contrivance that she can understand but not speak. Like, it's like, I don't know.
It's why does it even? Is
How
it?
could she hit the English part of her? It's just too much. It's too much. I would buy it more if she couldn't talk at all.
Like Locked In season 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, to me, it's an interesting thing. It would be a bit clearer if, for instance, in the Flash side, I guess, yeah, in the Flash Sideways, she's only speaking English, right? I mean, speaking Korean. So it'd be interesting to me if that's what they're trying to say is like the cognitive, impact made her connect to the Flash Sideways the same way consciousness can travel, time travel, and shit like that with a constant. Like
right.
That's the hitting her head. She's like 20% Flash Sideways son now or something,
right?
And that's the English speaking part. It's like they almost want to say that, but they never make a deal out of it. It's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
And here again, we're coming back full circle to this.
Oh, right. Yeah, we have to meet up with the
where like Carl was brainwashed.
This is
where Ben famously overreacted.
Oh God, right. Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, here we go.
And I still don't quite get what this was about because this was a Dharma thing that had to do with the hostiles and Jacob, which makes no sense.
I don't think they ever really explained it properly.
Unless they had like a program where they were like reprogramming hostiles and to be Dharma people and they would kidnap them and
yeah.
Relax, dude. No, you're tasing. She's like the Dharma Liz Lemon.
I remember everyone calling her Dirty Tina Fey.
Dirty Tina. Oh man, that's the best.
It is.
It's kind of racist because if it said John Smith, she wouldn't think it. He would just be it'd be him,
It's true.
I know names too.
Ooh.
And so would Jack Donaghy.
Oh God.
Which Widmore is basically Jack Donaghy.
He is 100% Jack Donaghy. I was just thinking that. That works pretty well.
Lemon, would you like some McCutcheon whiskey? I poured 2 glasses, but one of them is not for you. Yeah, they have nothing to do. They don't know what
they're so listless. This is interminable.
Yeah. That's what I told him. There was a Claire, but it was Huxtable. Wow, Claire's not a candidate?
That's what he said.
What's her last name? Little?
Littleton, yeah.
Littleton.
She seems really normal now.
Mm-hmm. Somebody hit her in the head, didn't they?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
There's a thing about getting hit in the head, dude. It's something about that. Okay, so he just basically said his goal is to get the candidates on the plane.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool story too. If he realizes the only way to get off the island is in like the same mode of transportation with the candidates. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, everyone has to leave together.
Yeah.
And then he could kill them afterwards.
Right.
If he needed.
That's almost what they do.
Yeah, almost.
Uh-oh.
Not as amped up as we like to recall, but still a great line. Still a great line. Do you think I'm gonna fly over the water? Get off the water.
I love that Sawyer's like not even phased. Like, yeah, there's crazier things than that.
Yep. Yeah, but there isn't. That's what's weird.
I know.
They've been so like worn down by the craziness on the island. By the time they get to the craziness that he's a smoke monster, they're like, no big deal.
They don't even care. They don't even react. It's just like whatever.
Yep, added to the list. You know what's weird about this, and I don't know if this is part of the story, is whatever like Jin's son's dad or whoever gave Jin the money would know that you can't travel with that without declaring it. You know what I mean? Like they're international businessmen, so it's almost like if they did that, then they're trying to set him up.
Yeah,
and if you're being ultra realistic about it, that I can do. I'm Omar, bathroom checker. You could at least put your shirt on. I mean,
I know, right?
Nothing.
What the fuck?
He could have like hid behind the door. He did not see this coming. They'll never check the bathroom. Didn't lock the door.
I don't need a shirt. I'm fine. Yeah, this is definitely like some contrived bullshit. It does help that it's oh no, I forgot about this.
Oh no, I forgot about this too. Go get Mikhail? Does he have two eyes? Wow. Wow, two-eyed Mikhail.
There he is.
It is, though. I just explained how it was. Banks. I want to date with Jin first. I have a face you can trust.
Yeah, look at these teeth.
Look at these teeth. These are trustworthy teeth.
He's so toothy.
It's weird. No, he's gonna eat you. This is great.
Sounds like such a lie.
Why would you believe me?
I was gathering mangoes.
Wow. Are we supposed to buy that?
Are we supposed to buy that? Okay, so that's like That's like the writers. If we say the thing, we can do anything we want.
And now here's Jack with the science to say it's a real thing. Yeah, once the swelling goes down, you'll be fine. Ricardus returnus.
Oh no! Bad news, y'all.
I got a new necklace, y'all.
I hope you're not cutting away from that. Okay. Oh yeah, I remember Outriggers were like so ubiquitous, even though they never revisit that scene.
Yeah. A lot of Outrigger time.
But yeah, you're right. He was Gone to Sun first, but he did eventually do this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Seamus.
And you'll die in pieces. Well, well, well.
Yes, but I won't explain that. I feel like he should be shirtless, like behind a tree.
Yeah.
Oh no. Was it really that wise? Ooh.
Because you took gin?
Ooh. Yeah, supposedly. I guess he's a candidate, but yeah, it's weird.
So he must mean he thinks he must be sure it's gin. That's not true. There's two other ways he could do it.
Yep.
It's interesting he asked someone else and not her. It's weird that she can't actually say words in English, right? If she knows them phonetically, like no plane, like she can't say no plane, no blow up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what's interesting. Like I can understand if she doesn't know how to translate something from Korean to English,
right?
But if she knows it phonetically, she can't literally say those sounds with her mouth.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
That's like forgetting like certain notes, you know, musical notes.
Yeah.
Like sorry, just A and C flat. I just
can't play in C major anymore.
No, there's those sets.
I can do anything else.
Anything else? Uh-oh. Paxos. Okay, refund that, please. Well, well, well. Oh. A little extra injury there. Oh, that's right. Okay. So this is a flashback within the Flash Sideways.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, the timeline. They're doing like a Pulp Fiction kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Then go get the you guy. All right, what do you want from me? It's weird. It's funny. It's such a weird, like, he's called attention to it, but like, what do you want me to say? You said it too. It's like, go get the American guy. Hey, I'm American. It's like, oh, right.
Yeah, it's like it's an insult or something.
But yeah. It's like, how dare you reduce him down to that? But also, that's what I am. It's a bad way to get paid.
Again, like, they really fucked up, like,
Yeah.
the way they wrote this, because it doesn't make sense that it should have gotten a whole bunch
Or
of costumes.
Or Pac knew this was happening. He doesn't care if Kimi gets paid.
Right.
And he knows Kimi will end up killing Jin for not even having the money.
Right. It's a win-win.
Yep. So wait, what? Like, huh? What's he doing? Why does he just kill him right now? What's happening? I missed it. Oh, there's a timetable.
Oh no, not a timetable.
A schedule. Damn. Last time he had a mercenary in charge, they blew up the freighter.
You mean Desmond?
Yes, yeah, I mean Desmond. He should have said him, but take him to the infirmary.
They have to play it up.
It's Alan Dale. TV's Alan Dale. It's a bunch of dick pics.
And Bobo. Don't forget
Yeah,
Bobo.
don't forget the dog. Does he know Penny is his daughter?
Okay, that's the line.
That's the line.
Cease to be. What a bold statement.
I wish that were true. You know, I wish that were true. There was some connection between Smoke Monster and the Light Cave and reality and the afterlife, and you know, he goes from one to the other, and that alters reality, and everyone die. You know, what? Like, that'd be so cool. That's not really what's happening.
They could have done that if they wanted. I don't know. Did he just like put Jin on like hold while he dealt with this Saeed thing? Is that what happened?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he was like trying to kill Jin later. Yeah, I don't know. See, Jen can say no.
I know. Son can't do that for some reason.
Brain injury. Nice. I'll tip the scales of fate towards you, friend.
But no more.
No more. It's against my code.
He is like extra British this season.
Mm-hmm. So Mikhail's bringing her back from the bank. Okay, got it. Oh, this is great. I remember this. Oh, he's still alive. That was great.
Oh, right.
Karma.
Forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out what the point of their flash sideways is. As it relates to their character arc over the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite get it.
Oh, I remember this is a scene where like they had a big pop-up ad for V and it like covered some of the words in this like writing thing.
He doesn't hang around gardens, Jack. It's your wedding ring. Yeah, Jack, that's why I don't believe in fate. You just proved my point. Is this like the only conversation they've ever had on the show, like ever? Like they never talk to each other.
I wouldn't go that far, but I think it's pretty rare, yeah.
In terms of like just the two of them talking about each other, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a low single digit number.
Mm-hmm. Of course not, Jack.
I remember thinking this is weird that like Jack goes back into like old school mode where it's like, yeah, let's get everyone off the island.
Well, because there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, but like he thinks that they're supposed to be there, and so it's just a bit of a clash with his new attitude.
They're supposed to be there to leave.
I don't think he thinks they're supposed to be there to leave.
I love them.
Wow. I mean, that seems like a great opening. Like, you don't like secrets, huh? Like, all right, like, tell me shit.
Oh, got it. He doesn't like secrets, so he's got Sayid spying.
Yep.
Don't mind me.
All right.
I'm just the harbor Sayid, just hanging out in the water.
Just in case. It wasn't clear.
Yeah, Sayid's weird.
Was that the end of the episode? Oh boy.
Yeah, that's that's the package.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it, I guess.
Have fun with that. Have fun with that.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Have fun.
I feel like I need help with that one.
With what? The ending?
Everything.
Well, you're in luck. I have an answer for everything.
The entire episode. So, like, okay, the first thing I want to get straight on is what the fuck was going on in Flash Sideways? So, okay. So it's like, okay. Yeah. So I'm trying to get this all straight here. Okay. Okay. So I think so they rewrote the story where like Jin, I guess they rewrote the story where like Jin works for Sun's dad first and then they meet and they start this like secret affair. And then like they go on this errand together where he's like ostensibly the bodyguard. And then this whole thing with Kimi happens where we find out like, oh, Sun's dad, he knew about it and he hired Kimi. Like, I guess that's what the story is. So it's I guess what I would say is that it's sort of like, I feel like it's sort of like the Sawyer one, and that it feels like they're just like mostly going back to square one with the characters. Like the dynamic is kind of the same. Like there's the main differences are like, first of all, like whatever, they're not like actually married, but like Sun's dad like always hated Jin anyway, so it still puts like their relationship in a similar position. I think the thing that's different is that Sun was trying to run away originally, but like they're having this like secret affair, so she's not trying to run away from that. So
yeah, it's basically it's kind of like they switch what her secret is. Her secret is that she's trying to leave Jin. Her secret is she's trying to be with Jin.
Exactly.
And they kind of just extend the story from there.
Yeah.
Which it's super weird.
But yeah, as for like what the point is, I mean, aside from kind of revisiting the origins, like,
mhm.
uh, yeah, I'm not really clear on
Maybe
that.
that's the problem. Maybe I wonder if we can if this works. Maybe this works as a type of symmetry, right? So the characters who didn't have any outstanding issues to work out on the island, what does their flash sideways look like? And I feel like with Sawyer and with Sun and Jin, they are the ones who have this like weird flash sideways where they're not really working out anything that they didn't get to work out on the island. And so maybe
Right.
that's the difference is Sun and Jin die sort of fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
And so their flash sideways is about what if they can't be together, you
Right.
know, in relation to their how they started. And Sawyer's is kind of follows that too, where his is about what if he's not over or done with this real Sawyer thing, I guess is the idea.
Right.
I don't know. But so maybe that's the difference between how the other Flash Sideways, what everybody else is going through.
Yeah.
Where, like Jack is clearly working out his daddy issues that he didn't get to resolve on the island.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe that's. I wonder if that fits for all the characters.
Yeah, and obviously like Locke had unresolved issues as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, there was like pathos there. Yeah, I think Saeed's is awkward. I do think Saeed's character was done, but what I will say, I think the thing that helped the Saeed one compared to the Sawyer one and this one is that there was at least like a clear or clearer like parallel between like stuff that's happened to him throughout the show and what was happening in that episode. Like there was some symmetry. It was almost like an old school
Mm-hmm.
episode where they would parallel the flashback with the present on island
Mm-hmm.
stuff, you know. And like I don't think it totally works, but I do think it gave it a little bit more weight in the Said one than these other ones where it just feels a bit disconnected. You know, all this stuff with Kimi, like gangster Kimi, like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, like it's not that it's not fun to watch, but I can't get over how just because it's a constructed world, like
Mm-hmm.
I guess the main comparison I have with that is the although the Saeed one is the closest because this literally overlaps with that, but also the Ben one. You know, it's like it's this weird like fable type thing
Mm-hmm.
um updated and like set in a modern context, but like you just can't take the story that seriously. Like it seems, I don't know, it just seems a bit like contrived or something to like reach a certain endpoint. It doesn't really seem like, and it doesn't seem like anything in it per se matters. It's really about like the point they're making about the characters,
Mm-hmm.
their connections or something. uh so yeah, I think it's I think part of the problem with it is that like much like the Ben one, like none of the stuff seems to matter very much. Like I just like it's hard to get worked up over like the danger or whatever. It's like you're all already dead. Like
Mm-hmm.
like who cares? I don't know. Like it's not the same kind of stakes as it normally would be in a scene like that.
Yeah.
So I think on a rewatch, like you kind of lose something there. Um, and I think the um, uh, I don't know, the emotional conflict or something was a bit sidelined compared to the Ben one. Um, it was there, but it was just not as emphasized. It seemed there was because there was just more business with setting the plot up. Like I think the Ben one had the advantage that the plot was pretty simple.
Yeah.
It didn't require like all these scenes to like set it up and like all these extra villains. Like there's just one villain. It's this one guy.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of simplifies the way the story runs. Um, it was just more focused, and when it's short like that, I think it helps uh, to have that kind of um, simplicity or something. Uh, so yeah, I think the Sawyer one and this one are have been the worst ones so far of
Mm-hmm.
the Flash Sideways.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to compare them like that because they have that similar um, quality of landing on an odd note and it
Yeah.
not being clear what's going to happen next.
Oh yeah, the Sawyer one ended on a cliffhanger too.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and it begs the question, okay, well, what's going to happen next? And I think all of this stuff with Flash Sideways, it just should have mattered more to what was happening on the island.
Yeah.
Imagine if Man in Black, gathers all the candidates on the plane or whatever, however he's going to get off the island, and they're like, "You're trying to kill us," and he goes, "Yeah, no, I don't need to kill you here. I need to kill you there. Like I need to stop your Flash Sideways from happening or something. Like that's where the real action is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something. If he leaves the island before they wake up in the Flash Sideways, they'll be stuck in the Flash Sideways forever and never move on. The same way like ghosts get trapped on the island, or they'll be marooned on the island of a Flash Sideways that they created together, right? Like some idea like that. Like that's what the Flash Sideways is. It's an island in the space time continuum, and if he leaves the real island, he pulls the cork on that place too. And so like it's a ticking clock before they need to all wake up, right? So Desmond, you got to go wake him up because he's trying to leave the island, and you know what I mean? Like that could have been a thing.
Right.
Where there's
Right.
the connective tissue between the two realities, even though they're it's not related, and the whole idea of it takes place after outside of time and all that.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
have the thing with the cork, right? They have that connection, right? With the
Yeah.
at the light cave, so that could have been a thing that I think would have added some weight to all of these scenes, right? And you could have had this very basic idea that they're all of these Flash Sideways, they're all wallowing in the emotions of whatever they're dealing with, but like now there's some urgency to like get past that, whatever it is, whether it's related to their original life's problems or not. They have to kind of like get past it so they can wake up and move on before Man in Black leaves the island and maroons them. That would have been a really cool idea. The idea that these losties were lost on the island for 6 years, and then they sort of created this place together that like or maybe even Man in Black, like that was his loophole, was forcing them to create that place or something, right? So he
Right.
strands them on an island in the Flash Sideways. That would have been a cool idea to kind of keep that symmetry going.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, no, I agree. I think on a rewatch, like it would help a lot if there was a concrete reason why I should care about these events of the Flash Shadoways that aren't just about the characters like reconnecting and moving on. Like I get why I should care about that. But this stuff that we saw in this episode, like it's just so far removed from that. It just
Mm-hmm.
feels totally inconsequential. I'm really getting this sense that like if they were going to write the Flash Sideways like they did, which is to say like it's totally separate, it doesn't have any connection with
Mm-hmm.
the current on island plot. It's like a separate. If they were going to write it that way, I really feel like they were trapped by the structure of the show. So like they slotted it in the place where the flashbacks and the flash forwards
Mm-hmm.
and stuff used to be. I get the temptation to want to do that, but I don't think they actually had a story to fill the whole season for like every character, you know?
Yeah.
It feels to me like they could have done maybe 5 Flash Sideways, or they could even pare it down and do like a bookend, beginning and the end, more of a Better Call Saul style thing where they show, because I liked the LAX stuff. I liked actually a lot of the Flash Sideways stuff early on. I felt like it worked pretty well, but I think they lose their way because they don't actually have much for the
They
characters to
what they
do.
what they should have done was, which they couldn't really have done. But what they should have done was just continue the story as if they landed. If they didn't, A15 makes it to LA basically, and everything continues as normal. We see Claire going to give the baby up for adoption. We see Jack going to bury his dad. Like all the
Right.
things that the characters were doing in the original, episode. Like that's what the Flash Sideways should have been, and then show us how their lives are broken, right? And then slowly show that reality changing into something else, right? As like Desmond enters and tries to wake them up and bullshit. I think that would have been more interesting to me than this weird thing with the incident that prevented them from ever going to the island, but somehow change ripples through time and change
Right.
things before even all that. Because then it gets weird, and like Jack has a son now, which makes no sense.
Right.
It just would have been, I think, more organic and natural to see the characters experience their broken lives if they had never come to the island, and that way you get them able to, the story can focus on the things that they didn't get over. If they didn't get over whatever it was, because it would have still been relevant to them at the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think something like that might have been better than doing this Flash Sideways, where it's this other thing that doesn't quite make sense. It's almost like, I guess that's why it doesn't make sense, is because I want it to be. They conflate it with this idea that they never come to the island, and also um, the island never existed, sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or it was sunk in the incident or whatever, which are kind of two different things. Um,
Right.
so I feel like that's why it gets kind of confusing. Um, and yeah, I think you're right. Like they didn't have a really concrete story. It's just some ideas that they show with some of the characters. Like, what if this? I don't know. How about
Mm-hmm.
that for an episode?
Yeah. 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 Just like, I don't know, half-baked ideas for
Hmm.
plots, but it's like, why is this on this show? Why is this happening to these characters? Like, it just doesn't.
Like, imagine if in my version, like the season 6 LAX starts with, basically the same kind of way, but it's really them from the pilot, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
plane had the jumble, but they land, and they just continue their lives like normal, but like their lives are horrible, and imagine a moment where Jack, where things kind of fall apart, and Jack's like, you can mirror his "we have to go back" thing, where it's like there's some place we need to be here, something, whatever the line
Mm-hmm.
would be. But this idea that he realizes that something's missing, and
Yeah.
that's the key, and it would have been interesting to see that whole thing too, right? If like maybe he, the story is he keeps seeing Kate around town or something like that, whatever, and or the other losties, and they realize like there's something, these people I saw on this plane, like something's happening here, yeah, the Flash Sideways is it's this one trick pony. It works very well when the mystery is very strong and you don't know what it is, and you are invested in trying to figure out how all these pieces fit together. But as a standalone idea, I don't think it works that well.
Yeah. All you were saying made me realize, like, I think something that still annoys me about it is the fact that they lead into it with the incident. The idea that if we detonate this bomb,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll never come to the island. And like, that's the whole, and then they have Juliet saying it worked. And,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're clearly trying to, although it's not true, they're clearly trying to sell the idea that there's a connection there. And I think that forces them to write it in a certain way
Mm-hmm.
that is like part of the problem. I think the whole origin, I just don't like that transition
But they're making that true. I mean, that goes, Juliet is like the fourth example of someone with a head injury connecting to the Flash sideways, or some
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
consciousness changing, so it's like they're making that connection on purpose for some reason.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's weird. It's weird, but it just, yeah, it doesn't mean what you think it means. And so
Hmm.
I guess like it's the kind of thing where there's a problem with the show and you trace it back and you realize that it goes back to an earlier problem. And I think the incident stuff at the end of season 5, like, it
Yeah.
was just never a good idea. The way
Hmm.
they executed it. I mean, they could have done that storyline maybe in a way that works, but what they actually did
Hmm.
was just a bad idea. I don't like it. Didn't work at all. I feels like such a waste of time. And then it's a lead into this thing, which, also at times feels like a waste of time. And
Hmm.
to make it worse, like they're not even connected.
Yeah.
It's like it's a coincidence. Juliet like hit her head, and so she happened to get a glimpse of the Flash sideways, but it had nothing to do with the bomb. I mean, other than like an injury.
Yeah, but like Jughead did something. Like it did do something.
It
It did.
flashed into the future, but I don't
It
think they
didn't.
created the Flash sideways.
It
I mean, at
didn't.
least like I don't see any clear indication of that.
Yeah, it didn't create the flash sideways, but it did. It flashed them to the future and it fixed the leaking space time continuum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they still had to do the button, but yeah, it kept it from blowing right then, I guess. I don't know.
Hmm.
That's something I wish they had been a little clearer about, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it did something, but it didn't do the thing that they wanted to do. And yet they let us believe that maybe it did, only to tell
Hmm.
us that it didn't.
Hmm.
It's like, that's not, I don't know, that's
Well,
not a
it's a
satisfying
Lindelof. It's a
story.
classic Lindelof shuffle because it's is it did it did it prevent did it reset the timeline? Option A is it reset the timeline and they never went
Right.
to the island. Option B is it didn't. And the answer is option C, which it did this third thing we didn't tell you could be an option, which is the
Right.
flash sideways. Um, and I think again, like my main problem with the incident is they don't double down on why the Losties needed to be there for it, and they could have done a thing. Even when Christian says, "Jack, this is a place you guys made together, right?" Like when you guys did the incident, you made this place, or
Yeah.
something like doing that pocket of energy explosion or whatever, it allowed this, and they don't have to make, I know they're not going to be like scientific about it, right? But like he could say something about your actions, with that flash, with the incident, allowed a space for you guys to make this place or something like that or whatever, and then you go, oh, okay, well then that's why it was important for them to go do the whole time travel thing,
Right. Right. Yeah,
um
yeah, they never made the incident thing matter that much, other
hmm
than it was just
hmm
I
or
mean, it's almost like they could have been doing anything at the end of
yeah,
season 5 and flashed to the future.
they could have said, hey, the incident was your first round at stopping Man in Black from destroying the island. Like he
Yeah, yeah.
orchestrated Dharma to do all this stuff and to do this, to dig at this site that he knew, because he's an expert at the water and the
Yeah.
light. He knew it was going to destroy the island and take everybody with it so he could finally leave. And the Losties in the time travel ended up, their actions ended up stopping that, right? So that was round one. And
Right.
now round two is the end game in season 6. Like, okay,
Yeah.
guys, you got to do. He's gonna try to destroy the island again. Like it would have been great if Jacob would have been the perfect person to say that.
Right.
Jack's like, how are we supposed to stop him? Well, you did it before,
Mhm.
with Jughead or something.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the kind of like clarity of action in motivation the show like doesn't have with the big picture. It's just a bunch of people doing small discrete things, and like a couple people know what's happening, but most people have no idea what's really going on.
Right. Right.
So it's
Right.
like life.
I do think that's part of it, but yeah, it also makes for uh less than satisfying watching sometimes. Because I mean, I guess like if you just filmed life, like it wouldn't necessarily make a compelling story, even if it's realistic, you know. So I think there's got to be like a balance there. But I do think like that's something you can do probably with most storylines. Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but you know, if you think about a storyline that's not working, like I was just thinking about Widmore, you know, it's like Widmore's got all these problems, but like if you start tracing him back, like the problems have just been, you know, like this problem leads to the next problem, and they've just been piling on top of each other, and so now he's like so many levels deep, you know. I mean, he already had problems back in like season 4, you know, and like they're already on like, you know, the season 5 stuff was a disaster. All these like goons flying around, like I don't know what the fuck they were doing. It makes no sense. No one confronts him about that. I wish someone could be like, Widmore, what the fuck were you doing? Like, why did you send those people? And he could even say if they wanted, that wasn't me, that was Benjamin Linus or whatever. It's fine. I don't care if they want to, but like I don't know. It's just weird. It's weird to like write all this stuff that happens on screen and like never, I don't know. It's kind of what you were saying. It's like discrete moments that are never tied together.
They could have done a thing where when he sends the freighter to get Ben because he thinks Ben is working for Man in Black, you know, and Widmore wants to protect the island like he always wanted to or something, you know. They could have said that that's why he wanted to come back.
And it could have been a huge boost to that Ben apparently releases the smoke monster on Kimi's team.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
They could have tied that in. As it is, it's like I don't know why the fuck that happened, and no one ever talks about it really.
Yeah, and then when Widmore shows up in season 6 and says Jacob sent me, it would have made sense because Widmore, even though he's a businessman, he still wanted the best for the island, and the whole time Ben could have been lying to us saying, "Oh, he just wants to exploit the island and all this stuff," but the truth is, like, he's still on Jacob's side. He's just been ousted and legitimately looking for it this whole time, right? So this, you know, they could have made him be seeming like a bad guy this whole time, but he's not as bad as he seems. You know, maybe he's willing to go too far, you know, for what he thinks is the right thing, but but he's not just like a cartoon villain, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a problem with the Ben and Widmore story, that like, you know, they're both bad guys, and then they're both like sort of redeemed. And I think that it doesn't, I feel like that doesn't work very well. At least not the way they did it. I just feel like one of them should have been redeemed, but not both. If they were going to do that, I don't know.
It the only like unredeemable person on this whole entire show was Michael.
Oh God, it's true.
Irredeemable probably is the word.
Irredeemable, yeah. God help you if you.
Yeah, sometimes the is an ear. Yeah.
Could do anything you want, but.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. Don't kill two actors on the show at once. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that was hyperbolic, but I think it's true. Everyone else gets a do-over or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it seems like he just doesn't get it. You can go now, Michael. Thanks. Thanks, whoever you are.
What? All right. Well.
Yeah.
Guess that's my final thought.
Yeah, it's weird. I was just gonna say how much like it, the idea of the flash sideways and how you can connect to it with like a brain injury or dying or something, or it's like flatline. It's like Flatliners.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Where your consciousness can go to another place. Yeah.
Yeah, they could have done more with that.
Well, all right. I don't think it was a bad episode overall. Like it didn't feel as tedious. probably because there was so much plotting.
Yeah.
There was a couple of scenes of people like sitting and doing nothing, but there was other things happening around that, so it wasn't too bad. The war's begun, so that's great.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess the war's here now. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure they were excited to like deliver on that promise, but to me it's just another how long will it take to train an army
Well,
or he
I just
said you're next.
oh god, we're all next. It's a royal you. Yeah. What's weird to me is Widmore meeting a person who looks like John Locke. And by the way, I don't think we have much to go off of Widmore understanding that Man in Black can look like other people. Like maybe Richard mentioned that,
Mhm.
but I don't think we've ever seen him see that happen in first person. And so the idea that he's talking to someone who looks like Locke, that he knows is the smoke monster, that it's myth and legend and bumps in the night or whatever,
Mhm.
and which means he has no idea what this person thing is capable of.
Right.
And I just feel like he's not really acting as if that's true. Um, it would be different if he said, Jacob told me all about you. Even if he was lying, how cool of a
Right.
line would that be?
Yeah.
He told me
Yeah.
everything about you, especially what your weakness is, or something like.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they almost insinuated that, since they haven't told us yet that Jacob sent him, like maybe they're just trying to like save that.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree that it would have been more satisfying if he was able to actually like give a better response
Yeah,
because it just feels too weak. And I don't even buy it. Like
yeah.
I
Why
feel like
couldn't he?
if you're gonna tell us that like the others have this superstitious mythology
Mm-hmm.
or whatever about the smoke monster, like I'm sorry, but it's too late. Like you never showed any of that shit. So
Yeah.
I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. I feel like he would have to say like no one ever talked about it. Like I don't know. Like I just I feel like they
Or
should
you're
have
the
shown us that at
thing
some point.
you're the thing the Egyptians worshipped, or you're just it just feel like he could have said something, or he could have said, yeah, Jacob told me you're the one I have to stop, or whatever. Like, yeah, there could have been some more there for sure.
Yeah. 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 I just if they knew where they were going, I just yeah, I think it's this is another like follow it back. Like if you look back at the smoke monster, like in terms of when he actually is on the show and just in terms of the characters like encountering him, how much any of them even talk about it, like
Mm-hmm.
it's a big old mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a huge problem. I think that's true for a lot of plot lines, but it's just very magnified right now because like it's the most pressing problem. But all these people like don't even really I don't know, it doesn't even seem like they really acknowledge like how big of a thing this is.
Yeah.
How big of a history they have like oh shit, like this is that thing we heard the first night we crashed here. Like no
Mm-hmm.
one really I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. It's so weird how like they're just unfazed by everything.
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't you just fly over the water? It's like, yeah, that's a valid question, but like, why are you so chill about hanging out with the smoke
Yeah, nobody
monster?
asked how he's a smoke monster, how he became one, why he is one. Like, nobody asks those types of fundamental questions, um, which is really weird.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's yeah, it's just left in this like vagueness, and it's I don't know. I just yeah, I feel like there should be there should just be way more focus on that. It's like
Especially since this is the season they focus on that. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, we should be finding more about it, about the smoke monster as the season goes on.
Yeah, yeah, you would think we would, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it almost seems like aside from Origins, like they have nothing new to tell
You know,
us.
a different show would have had when they were at the temple, right? It would have had Hurley or Cade or whoever's at the temple, like read some hieroglyphs and find out what his secret, or something like a hieroglyph about the ashes, right? Like how the ash is a protective circle, right? Or a hieroglyph about like, oh, this says that he has a weakness against water. You know what I mean? Like a different show would have had them find out clues to help them along the way to stopping the big bad,
Yeah.
um as opposed to like having to have someone just tell them didactically like what to do in some like whatever Jacob's going to tell them in a minute here,
Yeah.
like a different show. They would have been picking up clues along the way, and
Yeah.
use that to
Yeah.
stop him.
Yeah, if this was like Buffy or something, like there would be like a book of lore somewhere
Yeah.
with like information about how to
Mm-hmm.
defeat him or what his weaknesses are, or
Mm-hmm.
they would have to like decipher hieroglyphics or something,
Yep.
and there would be like some kind of discussion of like how are we gonna beat this
Dude,
thing? Like,
imagine that. Imagine they're trying to decipher hieroglyphics and no one there speaks ancient Egyptian. And Hurley has to like contact, a ghost who might be able to read it or something, like he's got to find some ghost partner, to translate, like the ghost of like Charlotte or
Ghost of Charlotte.
somebody.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
was thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's like, oh no, man, what are we gonna do? Trying to read this, we'll never figure it out, and then, excuse me, can I help with these? That's my Charlotte
Yeah,
voice.
I mean, I guess especially now that, Isabella has thrown in with
Mm-hmm.
we got to stop the Man in Black. Like, if they want to tell us all the ghosts want to, I think Michael agrees with that too.
Yeah.
If they want, then like it's a perfect opportunity to do something like that, and it,
Yeah.
it also would have followed through on the fact that like Charlotte never did a goddamn thing with
Never
her
helped
training.
anything anywhere ever. Yep.
It didn't matter at all.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable. Like because I
Yep.
remember when she first came, I remember season 4, we were like, oh shit, she's gonna go explore some caves and like find out some
Yep.
history, and it's gonna be so cool. And
Never happened.
yeah, like I know like that can be cheap in a way, it can be a Deus Ex Machina, but like is it any cheaper than what they do, which is like no one knows anything about the smoke monster or tries to figure anything out about it.
Yeah.
They'll just kind of walk along and do their thing until they accidentally figure out a way to kill him. Like
Yeah.
it's like how much better is that? Like I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
Yeah. Having
protagonists who like try to do things.
actually having Charlotte say things like, "Well, the ancient Sumerians had a myth about a creature that could shapeshift, from smoke, whatever, like whatever thing you could
Hmm.
say that she could tie into from her knowledge, right? About like what could be, in some sort of context. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, even from the claiming to the fertility stuff, all of that they could have tied in, with this idea of Man in Black. He the Sumerians said the god of death would spread a plague where
Hmm.
it would turn the dead to
Yeah.
life, and it would stop the unborn from being born, or whatever.
Yeah.
And again, I totally agree with you that in a way that kind of stuff is cheesy, but it's also satisfying. And that's what you get for it being cheesy, is the satisfaction of it feeling right, of it
Right.
feeling cohesive, and it feeling like a complete story. And
Yeah.
I'd rather have that with the other more interesting things the show does, right? Like you don't want it all to be cut and dry cheesy stuff. But I think
Right.
the sort of big sweeping things, I think, should be more, have more symmetry to them, and then have the details be, more organic and bespoke or something, whatever you want to call
Right.
it.
Right.
Because it's weird when it's all very just like haphazard and thrown together, and none of it like pieces together, and especially when people have these huge plans, and people who have time to care about these long-term issues, right? Like someone like Richard, like, and Ben, like these people who like understand some of the basic mechanics of the big ideas on the show, but yet they're still woefully unprepared and inadequate, even in their, musings and interest in what's happening sometimes.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Uh yeah, as you were talking, it made me think about the thing from Twin Peaks, from season 3, where Hawk shows Sheriff Truman this map, and he goes over the symbols on it and what they
Mm-hmm.
mean. And I don't worry, I know y'all. I know that went nowhere. I'm
Mm-hmm.
well aware. I'm well aware.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to say is, at least they had a scene like that. At least they
Yeah.
had a scene where someone
Mm-hmm.
talked about old lore connecting to
Mm-hmm.
the plot line, the Judy stuff, all this like weirdness that,
Yeah.
the season revolves around. So it's like even Twin Peaks did more
Mm-hmm.
than Lost did in
Well,
terms
and
of
that's the thing.
like,
And even if it's wrong, that's fine if it's wrong or inadequate. You don't expect
right.
people to be able to grasp like the biggest things that they can't even fathom, right? Like what are the woodsmen and where they come from and what's Judy and all that stuff. But like, but Lost version of that, right? In a more minor way, I think is the Dogen stuff, right? So he
Right.
had these ideas of what the smoke monster is and what it's capable of, and he tried to sort of that. I feel like that was their version of that scene with Hawk and the map, right? Like
I think you're
explaining.
right. I think you're right. But the problem is that we didn't get any context for Dogen's like source of knowledge. Like, I think the knife, like they do
Mm-hmm.
try to like, the knife seems to go back to like the old days, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like that knife has some like mystical quality. They don't really develop that, but like he doesn't say Jacob told me this. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say this is from this hieroglyph or this ancient book of ancient lore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like spouting off, so it just feels a bit, but you're right, that is probably like the closest thing we get to that kind of,
Yeah.
he's like, he's evil incarnate, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to stab him with this knife before he speaks to you, and if he speaks
Mm-hmm.
to you it's too late. It's just, yeah, I don't know that, but that whole thing kind of crumbles when we actually get the confrontation, so
Well,
it
and
just
it's like
feels,
the other. It's not just that scene, but it's also the other stuff Dogan does. The stuff with Jack, and he talks about the claiming with Claire and all that
right,
stuff. But
right.
like so what's weird is like there was a test that said Claire is evil or claimed, but like she bumps her head and now she's normal and she's fine.
Right.
So if she retook the test, is it fine? Is it a headache thermometer, a headache meter? I mean, like a headache, like it just measures whether or not you have a headache or a brain injury, and that's really what it is. Because it seems like, yeah, she after she got hit in the head or whatever, she's fine now.
Yeah.
And she just had to deal with like, oh, Aaron, oh God, okay, Claire, I mean Kate, oh no, and then like, okay, I'm fine now.
Yeah, yeah, it just took a knock on the head. I mean, she is like insinuating that like she's gonna like try to kill Kate again, but like I don't know. If I remember right, like it doesn't really go anywhere. And I think even if like she's still harboring like a slight murderous tendency or something, it's still clear that like she's behaving so much more normally than she was when,
Mm-hmm.
Jen first encountered her, and she was just like, you know,
And is that the actress or is that the story?
It's a fine line, right? Yeah, it's hard to know. I'm not really sure about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I do think that I forget her name, the who plays like Rousseau, like I think she did a better job of walking that line of like saying something reasonable versus like
Mm-hmm.
also seeming unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a tricky thing to do, and old school Claire like never had to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, come back and like just like do this like right away. Yeah, I'm not sure if it
You
really
just
worked that well.
you mentioned Rousseau, and it made me think of an alternate Flash Sideways story they could have done, which would have been about Ben meeting Alex's mom, who's Rousseau, and forming some sort of like will they won't they relationship, right? Because the whole idea of
I think
Alex
they're gonna do
being
that. I think that's gonna happen.
is that a thing that's gonna
I think
happen?
it's a thing. I don't think they spend a lot of time on it, but I think what you're saying like
Oh,
happens
good, because
in some
I
way.
thought I imagined it in my head and it felt right. So maybe I'm just
Yeah.
remembering episodes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there's a scene later where we see her and she meets Ben, and yeah,
Oh, that's
there's like
right.
a weird like sexual it's like, what is this? Are you
Okay.
serious? These
Okay.
two?
Yeah. Okay, I forgot they come back to the Alex thing.
Yeah, yeah, they do. They do. It's yeah. Like towards the end, like I think we have like two or three more. Let me see. Let me see the episode list here. I think it's uh let's see. So there's okay, so we got Happily Ever After. That's like the Desmond thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then we have the Hugo one. Everybody loves Hugo. Obviously that's a Hugo thing. And then so yeah, actually the Hurley one is the last one that's like single character centric. I think for the rest of them they're like mixed.
Yeah.
And so they just like go between all the characters, which again is a sign that they didn't really have individual character stories
Mm-hmm.
to last the whole season. Like
Yeah.
they
I
kind of
would
fill it out.
I would buy that. It makes sense that at the end of the season they would want to spend as much time with all of them as possible.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I think
definitely.
definitely in the earlier parts it's a little bit weirder. But yeah, I think 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the last episode. Okay, we're almost there. Wow.
Yeah, there's only two more regular, and then yeah, then we'll have these group episodes and Across the Sea, which is
Mm-hmm.
its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we're definitely in the end game stages here, and it's weird that like I don't know, it's I, part of it is probably knowing what's coming, but there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk about things,
Mm-hmm.
but it still felt to me like the story didn't move very much on the island.
It didn't. The only thing that moved was Desmond being revealed. I think is the
Right.
big thing. And
Yeah.
one thing I was gonna say is I don't feel like I have a good strong sense of what the season, the big question of the season is. I mean, I guess it's will Man in Black leave the island? But in terms of
Yeah.
like anything else, I don't feel like there's an actual thing I'm wondering about.
I think for the island stuff, that's pretty much it. Like, will the Man in Black succeed? What are his plans? What's he
Mm-hmm.
gonna do? Um, I think the other big question is like, what is the Flash Sideways? Which
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like, if you know
Well,
that
the Flash Sideways is them when it worked. I'll just quote Juliet.
But I think they're hanging a lot of the mystery on the Flash Sideways this time. And the on island stuff is more straightforward. Like, this guy wants to leave. We got to stop him from leaving. Like, that's it.
Yeah, and again, another show it would have been about the Losties need to leave the island. Like it's a ticking clock, and they've got to leave before it's like okay, fine, because that's the whole idea of the show is they're stranded on the island, right? So the whole thing is to get off the island. So like the end of the show would have been about them getting off the island. But it's interesting that it's really about like them stopping someone else from leaving the island, and if they get off, cool. But like, it's like we got to stop this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he can't come with us. We can't all leave together. We want to leave, but he's got to stay, but also not leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes me think like I think another thing that's just a bit off-putting is that it takes too long for the Man in Black to like reveal his it's like I don't get how he gets to be the smoke monster and he gets to like massacre the temple, and yet like people are still just cool with like, okay, well, let's just like go.
Because he gave him a
It's fine.
choice. Well, what's weird is, to your point, right? I think they get a little cover between how they answer that question, right? That he gave him a choice, but the second part of that, which still damns him, I think, is the fact that what's clear is if you don't agree with him, he will kill you, right? So it's not just that he killed them, right? It's that he killed them because they didn't agree with him.
Right.
And if you so now if you're in the camp of people who don't agree with him, you're gonna die. So
Right.
so that's the thing that makes it weird is that people are assuming they'll just always agree with him, so they'll always be safe.
Yeah, they don't
Because
seem
right now he wants to leave
concerned.
the island. So if you agree with that, you're cool.
Right. But it's like, I don't know, it's just like if someone's, you know, got the potential to just do a big mass murder, like I would just
Mm-hmm.
think like, well, God, I don't want to set him off. Like, what if I say the wrong thing or whatever? Like, it's just like if someone points a gun to your head and is like,
But that's the thing is if you want the thing he wants, then all you got to do is not say the wrong thing, so you'll be fine. You know. So I think that's how they try to get away with it. Like the characters are thinking, well, he wants to
no,
leave
I
the island.
agree. I would
Yeah.
expect that to be more tense than it feels. It just feels like super chill.
Yeah. Well, some of the characters are not obviously not going along with them, right, and don't trust them and stuff like that. But I agree, a lot of them do seem to be too chill.
Yeah, I mean, even the not trusting feels, I don't know, it feels mild. Like, I don't get the sense of a real insurrection brewing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like Sawyer's looking out for himself.
Well, they don't have a plan, and they don't care about each other.
Yeah, that is a big part of the problem. Yeah, part of the problem with his group is like there's so many disposable characters in there, which is why they're all just gonna get like bombed by Whitmore here in a couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Which yeah, I think it's kind of a
You
problem.
mean warred upon?
I do. I do. But yeah, I think there is something awkward about how long it takes before like they're really united that okay, we need to like fight the Man in Black now. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I mean, I think it's almost the second to last episode before they really get there.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. He has to try to kill them all first before they're convinced and it's like, yeah, that's I mean, he's done that before, like come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he'll just say like you better leave here or you die, like who knows if next he's going to be like, well, now I want you to die so I can like you don't know what's like
Yeah.
who knows what the fuck's going on with him.
Mm-hmm.
Especially once you find out you're supposed to replace Jacob and if you know that Jacob was keeping him there.
Yeah.
Which
Do
at
they
the
know
very least
that?
Richard should know that.
Yeah, they don't all know that, and which is part of the problem.
That is part of the problem. But it's like, yeah, I mean, that gets back to Richard and why he doesn't like share anything.
Why don't you share, Richard?
He knows like so much shit and like he's so unhelpful.
He doesn't know anything. What does he know?
I mean, he knows like certain basic things that a lot of the characters don't know. So like compared to them, it seems like he knows a lot. I agree,
Mm-hmm.
like in the grand scheme of things, he knows very little.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like he knows like Jacob was keeping the Man in Black there, and the Man in Black can appear as dead people, and he's the one who wanted to kill Jacob, and like those
Mm-hmm.
are just like basic things that a lot of the characters don't know.
Yeah. Does Jack know that the plane crashed because of Desmond didn't push the button?
Yes, I think so.
How does he find that out?
I mean, like
I don't remember that whole.
Locke or Charlie or something. One of those people who were there when Desmond revealed that could have, or Desmond himself could have told him. I guess. I feel like he must have found out because in the speech in the variable, Dan's big like speech about the bomb. Like I think he talks about Desmond not pushing the button, and they didn't really seem surprised. So
Got it.
I assume they knew
Okay.
at some point.
Yeah, this thought this came to me. All right, dude. Well, yeah, it wasn't the worst episode this season. Strangely,
No, I agree. I agree. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think the problems with the episode are largely like part of the larger picture,
and
not necessarily what's happening in the episode itself.
Yeah.
Except for I do think there's a bit too much sitting around chit chatting. Like scenes like that are fine, but I think they just start to pile up in this period of the season. And yeah, I kind of wish they had limited that a bit and found room for maybe more dynamic things to happen. I think the connection, the division between the two camps, it's like we're back to like one group at the barracks and one group at the beach, or one group at the caves and one group at the beach. It's like that dynamic again.
Yeah.
But the other side is like, I don't know. The weird thing is like you would think the people with the Man in Black are like the bad guys, but actually like most of them are fine. It's just they're just following the bad guy, but they're not like trying to kill the candidates or you know what I mean? They're not on board with the mission. I feel like in a more normal version of the show, like they would be like actually recruited, like they would actually be in on the cause, but they're really just like cluelessly following in the hopes of surviving.
Yeah, it would be cool if he needed them alive to leave, so he's got to convince them somehow to come with him. So that's the recruitment is they're willing to do what he needs, versus somebody else, and because the killing thing is it's super easy, it's too easy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't even get the point of the I guess like the only reason to clear out the temple is to make sure like the candidates don't just like hide out there and he can't get to them. I guess that's the point. But I don't know why he gave a shit to even give the others an offer, Like why bother? Why not
to seem trustworthy, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess again, why not just kill everyone instantly on demand as soon as you see somebody, just kill them, and then, and I guess for the candidates, he kind of wants them all in one place or something, but that's the harder way to do it.
Yeah, it becomes very elaborate.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, we'll be back next time with that next episode.
Happily ever after.
That's how this works.
I think.
Happily ever after.
That's the Desmond one, I think. So that'll be fun. Desmond episodes are always
everyone's
good.
Favorite character.
Who doesn't love Desmond? Come on.
Yep.
Best character ever.
All right. And until next time, thanks and namaste.
Namaste and good luck.